Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 14th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Cloudy today. We'll see some pop-up showers. The high's only going to be 64. Tonight and overnight, rain, low 60. And then Thursday, we'll do like a little morning fog and some afternoon clouds, a little bit of everything. High 70. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 59 and cloudy in Pearl River up in Rockland County. It's 58 and cloudy in East Hanover in New Jersey. And it's 59 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
It does really look like New Jersey transit engineers are going to walk. Another day, another child shot in the Bronx. Wild testimony at the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Republicans are seeing red over an even-year election plan. And Edon Alexander's mom gives us an update on her son. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Let's start with the fact that Pete Rose has been reinstated to Major League Baseball. But, of course, the sad part about this is it's now after he is long dead. I mean, why couldn't they do this while he was alive? But he's been removed from the Major League Baseball's banned list, which means now he possibly could be put into the Hall of Fame, where he probably should be. And you can imagine in Cincinnati yesterday, where they never gave up on Pete Rose. They always loved him. I guess in Philly, too, where he won the World Series. They are fans.
Love Pete, my favorite player of all time. I was a kid at 75, 11, 12, the back-to-back World Championships, and we invented hustle.
Did I tell you how I hung out with Pete Rose for a day? Yeah. I was covering his son, Pete Rose Jr., who was trying to make it in baseball, joining the Jackals team out in New Jersey. And Pete Rose showed up for his first game. And then afterwards, we hit it off. He invited us out for dinner. And there I was hanging out with Pete Rose, who, by the way, I kind of enjoyed hanging out with. I've always heard that nobody liked him, but that was not my experience. I found him to be kind of a fun dude to hang out with. In fact, we took shots together at the bar. Shoeless Joe Jackson has also been removed from the ban list, with Major League Baseball Commissioner Robert Manfred stating that the punishment for banned individuals will end upon their deaths. Of course, the Shoeless Joe's long been dead. The removal from the list opens the door for both to enter the Baseball Hall of Fame posthumously. But, of course, Pete Rose, all along after he retired from baseball, said, hey, I should be allowed into the Hall. Now, of course, he was banned for betting on baseball while he was manager of the Reds. Jackson was banned for his role back in 1921 for the Black Sox scandal. But here we are all these years later. Neither are alive to enjoy this moment. But the fans say, yeah, put them into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I grew up worshiping the Big Red Machine. And then getting the wire to wire in 1990 was phenomenal. But it just ain't complete without having our hometown guy in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he should be. 5:03. 14-year-old boy in custody in the story we told you about yesterday, this shooting that killed a 16-year-old girl up in the Bronx outside of a high school. This was outside Bronx Latin Inn on Monday. So she is hanging out. If you didn't hear this story, she is just leaving the school. Across the street, there's kids involved in a gang. Fight breaks out. One of them pulls out a gun and means to shoot at one of the fellow gang members, but the bullets, of course, miss. And they hit this poor 16-year-old who had nothing to do with it. Her name is Yvette Jeffrey, shot in the head outside Bronx Latin. This was about 5 p.m. Monday. Well, yesterday they caught up with the 14-year-old gunman, which is sort of hard to believe a 14-year-old has hold of a gun.
During this altercation, a 14-year-old male produced a firearm and fired 3 rounds into the crowd of other teens. The victim, Everett Jeffrey, was not involved in this dispute. She was an innocent bystander who was simply trying to take cover behind a brick wall.
Now, they were able to catch up with him, use surveillance cameras. I'm sure some kids also talked. Charges pending against him. Apparently, he's had other interactions with the NYPD in the past. Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny says detectives canvassed the area. They reviewed surveillance footage. I mean, they caught up with him awfully fast, right? The shooting took place Monday night. By Tuesday afternoon, they had him in custody.
The Regional Fugitive Task Force detectives, along with the United States Marshal Service, located this 14-year-old suspect at 952 Reverend James Polite Avenue near the intersection of East 163rd Street.
Now, initially, he ran from police, but they caught up with him.
This apprehension was the result of outstanding, relentless detective work. From the moment the shooting occurred, our investigators never stopped, working throughout the night, gathering evidence, building a case, and tracking down the suspect.
The incredibly tragic part of this, of course, is you can't bring back this 16-year-old who was doing nothing wrong, just coming out of school. Yvette Jeffrey's mom, of course, just heartbroken.
She was always laughing. She couldn't wait to get to college. I saw her in the video, she was having a happy day, I hugged her and I told her to hurry up and come back home, and some people are just careless, some people don't give a damn about life.
So unfair.
My daughter just did not deserve it. I don't wish this on nobody, It's really messed up.
Yeah, Yvette Jeffrey's grandmother, she also was speaking out yesterday, say the actions of the teen gangs are unforgivable.
I will never forgive you. I don't care. They could say I'm sorry a million times. I will never forgive any of you.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Meanwhile, there was another shooting. Another kid hit by a bullet, also in the Bronx. I mean, if you aren't outraged, you should be. 2 innocent bystanders injured, including an 11-year-old during a shooting in the Bronx. This was about 5 o'clock yesterday. East 163rd Washington Avenue. That's the Melrose section, just up the street from the 42nd Precinct. Police say the suspects, 2 men, walked up, opened fire on a group of men standing outside of a college there. They missed. And, of course, when they missed their targets, instead they hit again. Innocent bystanders. A 20-year-old man was driving in a car. He took a bullet to the shoulder, and the shattered glass hit his passenger and an 11-year-old boy who was in the car.
Because it could be, God forbid, my son. Too much delinquency, and nobody puts a stop to it. It's been years.
Okay, so the good news here is both of those people who were injured were going to be okay. They were taken to Lincoln Hospital. Police have not caught up with the gunman. This also sounds like it's gang-related. WABC News Time 5:09. Okay, there's no deal between the Engineers Union and New Jersey Transit. That strike looming for Friday. The agency says the talks that were convened with the National Mediation Board down in Washington were constructive. And when you ask both sides for comment, they were not willing to do so, which is a good sign because they don't maybe want to sink a deal that could be close. Let's keep our fingers crossed. The transit president, CEO Chris Calori, was at Newark Penn Station yesterday, and Channel 7 caught up with him. He didn't have a lot to say, but he said he was optimistic. So that's good. That's a good sign because he has not said that in days. Meanwhile, when you talk to commuters, what's always amazing to me is a fair amount of them have no idea that a strike is on the horizon, even though there are signs everywhere, if you ride the rails, that this is going to happen. I don't mean signs from God. I mean actual physical signs. Commuters say they are making plans.
I think what we'll have to do is figure out carpools.
I'm on the way to pick up my car right now, so I wouldn't even have to worry about it.
Well, I will ask to work from home.
Yeah, so if the strike comes to fruition, the New Jersey Transit president says additional buses will be able to accommodate about 20% of the 350,000 who get on trains every day. He's urging people who can to work from home. Now, a couple of years ago, that would have been, of course, a whole lot easier when more people were working from home, but lots of people have been called back to the office. Meantime, New Jersey Transit canceling train and bus service to MetLife Stadium for the concerts Thursday and Friday night, the Shakira concerts, because they're just worried that the engineers could walk off the job at that point. So that's going to be a disaster getting out of there on Thursday and Friday. In the next hour, or I should say in the next half hour, we'll hear more from both sides and what they were saying as maybe we get closer to this New Jersey Transit strike. And if that's not the only sort of transit nightmare in New Jersey, Transportation Department working, they say, as quickly as possible to fix Newark Airport's aging air traffic control system. But they say it's going to probably take up to 4 years. Now, despite the equipment issues, which have led to multiple blackouts, we had more than 70 cancellations yesterday. United Airlines CEO speaking out. Initially, they had said, hey, maybe you should try another airport to get in and out of New Jersey or the New York City area. But the CEO, Scott Kirby, taking to the Today Show yesterday to say that it's still safe to fly and it's still okay to fly through Newark, which, of course, is their hub, United Airlines hub.
But what we do when there are situations like this, communication, radar outages, anything, we have backup procedures and backups to the backups. And essentially what happens in a situation like that is airplanes go into holding patterns, the same kind of thing that you see for weather.
Okay, so here's what we're being told. A pair of backup telecommunication lines are now operating again, sending data to Philadelphia, where the air traffic controllers work out of. A controller shortage and that runway construction at Newark have also been to blame for the ongoing disruptions. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is kicking off meetings with the airlines to figure out how many flights will fly out of Newark this summer. And, of course, all of us wondering about that if you're planning a big vacation with the family.
And they also have systems on board the airplane where even if the air traffic control radar is down, they can see each other as airplanes in an independent system. And so they maintain separation. They fly circles in the sky, and they get the airplanes on the ground.
Yeah, one of the big reasons the CEO, Scott Kirby, has taken to the airwaves in the last 24 hours is he just wants people to know that it's still safe to fly.
It's not just the air traffic controller shortages leads to shortages and fewer flights across the whole country. It is the fact that they're working overtime hours. It makes the job stressful. It makes the job harder. It puts them in a more difficult position.
Yeah, that air traffic controller's job is a really stressful job. And meanwhile, there's a push now for expanding the use of Atlantic City International Airport due to the ongoing issues at Newark.
County Executive Dennis Levinson says the move would improve air traffic safety along the East Coast. The South Jersey Transportation Authority, which manages the airport, says it's been talking to several airlines. Spirit Airlines, currently the only commercial airline that flies in and out of Atlantic City, which has a 10,000-foot runway and is close to several major cities. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
All right, let's go overseas at 5:13. President Trump says the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia has been a bedrock of security and prosperity for decades. He spoke at the Saudi-U.S. Investment Forum in Riyadh as part of his trip, of course, 4-day trip to the Middle East.
Today we reaffirm this important bond and we take the next steps to make our relationship closer, stronger, and more powerful than ever before.
Earlier in the day, the president signing a $600 billion economic package with Saudi. This is the first stop, 4-day trip to the region. The trip focused on investment, several deals and agreements expected to be announced.
The U.S.-Saudi relationship has been a bedrock of security and prosperity. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time doubling down on Iran yesterday, saying that they can't have the bomb and that he's watching them closely.
But they cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And President Trump also lifting sanctions yesterday on Syria. He made the announcement also in Riyadh.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
President saying he's opening a communications channel now with the new regime that just ousted, of course, the former dictator Bashar al-Assad. And reports say the president will speak with the new leader of Syria.
Now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off. And
yeah, in a moment, we'll tell you what the president's doing with the talks that are going to happen between Ukraine and Russia. This looks like it's really going to take place in Turkey. We'll get to that story in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning, Noam Laden. We'll start here on the Diamond out in Queens. Brett Beatty hit a tie-breaking homer in the 7th inning, and the Mets held off the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-1, effectively taking the series as well. Brendan Nimmo had an early RBI double off closer Mitch Keller for the NL East leading Mets, who have won 5 of 6 to move to a season-best 13 games over 500. Throwing error by shortstop Francisco Lindor helped the Pirates put runners at second and third with 1 out in the 9th, but closer Edwin Diaz threw a called third strike past slumping Brian Reynolds before cleanup batter Joey Bart grounded out in a drizzle to end it. The Mets are 17-4 at home and have won 11 of the last 12 against Pittsburgh at Citi Field. Coming up next for the Mets, Clay Holmes gets to start in tonight's series finale against Pittsburgh. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. from Citi Field. Mets going for the sweep. Out west in Seattle, the Yankees dropped game 2 of 3 against the Mariners. The final score 2-1 in 11 innings after the Yanks tied it in the 9th on a fielder's choice by Anthony Volpe. J.P. Crawford then won it for Seattle on an RBI single in the 11th off of Tim Hill. Up next for the Yanks, Will Warren will get the start in Seattle this afternoon for the series finale against the Mariners. First pitch is scheduled for 4:10 p.m. Also out of Major League Baseball in a historic sweeping decision, Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred yesterday removed Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. The all-time hit king and Jackson, both longtime baseball pariahs stained by gambling, seen by MLB as the game's mortal sin, are now eligible for election into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Manfred ruled that MLB's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their deaths. That's a big move coming out of Major League Baseball yesterday, and we will see if Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe get into the Hall. That'll come in the summer 2028 if they are elected. In Cleveland, to the NBA here, the Pacers eliminated the top-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, beating them 114-105 in Game 5 last night to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. The 4th-seeded Pacers will await the winner of the matchup between the number 2 seed Boston Celtics and our 3rd-seeded New York Knicks. New York leads that series 3-1 with Game 5 scheduled for a 7 p.m. tip-off from Boston tonight, where the Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. Boston will indeed be without superstar forward Jason Tatum, who underwent surgery to repair a ruptured right Achilles tendon yesterday afternoon after suffering the injury late in the 4th quarter of Monday's Game 4 loss to the Knicks. The team said the surgery was a success and that no timetable was available for his return, but he'll be out for most of next year as well. So a big blow there for the Boston Celtics, but Game 5 tonight, and the Knicks trying to wrap up action there. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 520. Secretary of State Marco Rubio going to head to Turkey later this week for peace talks between Ukraine and Russia.
Talks are being held in Turkey later this week, probably on Thursday.
Now, the president had said he might go there himself. Apparently, that's not going to happen. The direct talks between Russia and Ukraine will be the first since the early weeks of the war.
And they could produce some pretty good results. Our people are going to be going there. Marco's going to be going there.
Now, Ukrainian President Zelensky has said he'll be available to meet with Russian President Putin, but Russia has not said for sure if Putin will travel to Turkey. Back home, doctors evaluating after a nodule found during a routine checkup for former President Biden.
According to a spokesperson for Biden, a small nodule was found on Biden's prostate during a routine physical, which necessitated further evaluation. However, the nodule might not be cancerous, and Biden's doctors are planning more tests to determine if the growth is benign or perhaps just a lump caused by inflammation. The former president also had skin cancer removed from his chest in February of 2023. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Senate hearing on prescription drugs focusing on pharmacy benefit managers who are accused of driving up the prices.
PBMs seem to be leveraging their market power and extracting profits at the expense of patients.
That's USC Professor Neeraj Sood, who told lawmakers in D.C. yesterday that managers should be legally obligated to work in the best interests of the public. A report laid out during that hearing yesterday found that out-of-pocket drug prices reached $98 billion last year. That's a 25% increase just in the last 5 years. Outrageous.
Our pharmaceutical distribution system should work for patients, not against them.
Yeah.
The prescription drug supply chain is not competitive.
Now, you remember I told you yesterday, President Trump signed this executive order he hopes will encourage pharmaceutical companies to lower drug prices for the American health system, because everywhere else the drugs are sold in other countries, they pay a whole lot less than we do. But one expert saying it's not going to be very simple to make that happen.
The pushback by pharmaceutical industry is, you want good research and development into drugs? Well, we need the profits to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to see new innovations in drugs.
That's Dr. Stephen Ullman, who says America is not a single payer system, so private insurers negotiate prices individually, and there's no consensus. And that's why you see these prices driven up so high.
I think it's because every part of the system is negotiating on their own. Even each insurance company is negotiating on their own in terms of what they want to pay for pharmaceuticals and what they want to have covered under their plans.
Yeah, and in the meantime, of course, we're getting ripped off. Get rid of the middleman. Maybe that would fix the problem.
It's the system. It has to be questioned and challenged. Congress is looking at PBMs. They have to sort of see what their role is, but they definitely boost up the cost, because the way they make more money is by basically pushing more expensive drugs.
Yeah, while we're talking money, the annual inflation rate had slipped to 2.3% in April, lower than expected. The lowest, by the way, since February of 2021. Correspondent Tony Waterman reports that the markets had expected the CPI to increase to 2.4%.
The latest inflation data suggests that businesses are still trying to decide what to do about Trump's trade tariffs, eat the cost, or pass price increases along to consumers. For now, it seems they're taking a wait-and-see approach.
Yeah, and the markets continue to love this news. Another good day yesterday. U.S. filing terror charges against cartel leaders in Mexico for the first time. U.S. Attorney Adam Gordon says the leaders of a faction of the Sinaloa cartel are the first to face terror charges under the new U.S. designation.
Since its inception, the Beltran-Leyva organization has been considered one of the most violent drug trafficking operations in Mexico, engaging in shootouts, murders, kidnapping, torture, and violent collection of drug debts
the cartel,
to sustain its operation.
Sorry about that. The cartel leaders accused of murder, kidnapping, and torture, and the group was a target of a record fentanyl bust in Mexico late last year, where nearly 2 tons of the drugs were seized.
Narco-terrorists operate as a cancer within a state. They metastasize violence, corruption, and fear. And if left unchecked, their growth would lead to the death of law and order.
525 out to Los Angeles, where a judge has resentenced convicted killers Lyle and Eric Menendez to 50 years to life for their crimes. Defense attorney Mark Garagos credits the judge for what he says making the correct ruling in this case.
He did what justice said should happen, and he struck the special circumstance, and he sentenced them to 50 to life, which means they're immediately eligible.
The Menendez brothers have served decades in prison for the 1989 murders of their parents in Beverly Hills. Attorneys for the brothers argued that both have been rehabilitated after serving over 30 years of life sentences for the killings. Lyle and Eric were in the courtroom weeping at points. They said they took responsibility for the murders. They say their father sexually abused them and that their mother allowed it to happen. Now, L.A. County prosecutors believe the brothers should not be resentenced, describing their killings as cold-blooded and financially motivated. Now, this ruling means that a judge or a state parole board can decide whether they have to serve the new sentence or whether they should be free for time served. So now everybody waits to see what's going to happen next.
Who was able to cancel out all the noise surrounding this, all of the grandstanding, all of the political back and forth and he did what the code section said he should do.
Now, what's been interesting about this case is almost every family member, including the siblings of their parents, have taken the boy's side, saying that now looking at the case all these years later, and that the boys didn't do anything right, but they think they should be let out of prison. Now, there is one family member who says no, but the rest of the family members have been by the brother's side. I mean, not physically, but in the courtroom saying, hey, you should let both of them go.
Ultimately, we are here today with this result because of Eric and Lyle, because they chose to live their lives with clarity and a purpose of service that the judge was impressed by.
Yeah, so apparently for most of the time they've been model prisoners. So, of course, the question is, will they get out or should they get out? I'm not really sure.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 536. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 14th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Cloudy today. Could see some pop-up showers this afternoon, high 64. Tonight and overnight, rain, low 60. And then Thursday, morning fog, afternoon clouds, high 70. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 59 cloudy in Pearl River up in Rockland County. It's 58 and cloudy in East Hanover in New Jersey. And it's 59 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. Just a quick note of thanks to you. Here we are again. I'm terrible at tooting my own horn, but I should learn more from the guy I love who comes after me because he's good at that. Just good news. We are number one again in New York in the 5 o'clock hour. I mean, that's huge. So love it that you're making us appointment radio. Thanks so much to all the people who work on this show, Lou Ruffino, Justin Ellick, and of course, Joseph Nolan, who all make this 5 o'clock hour fantastic. And thank you for making us number one yet again for like months on end. It's really great. All right, 537, traffic, transit on the 7th. Here's Joe Nolan.
You do a pretty good job, too, you know.
Who's that?
You.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I mean, you know, you're pretty good at this.
Hold on a second. Let me pat myself on the back. There we go. WABC News Time 539. Agencies across the state of New Jersey, they're just preparing for this possible New Jersey Transit train strike Friday that could cause big problems for commuters. The union that represents the engineers who drive the trains, of course, threatening to walk off the job. This is all over salary. No contract is in place. Eyewitness News actually caught up with Transit President CEO Chris Calori as he was walking through Newark's Penn Station yesterday, and he didn't have a lot to say about this federal mediators who are involved in the talks down in D.C., but he didn't say that things were going bad, here's what he said.
We had a little over 48 hours.
Conversations are constructive.
Talking tonight, today, did you guys go down to the...
We did. I was there all day yesterday. I promise as soon as we have something to report, we will. I'll be sleeping in my office. I'm going to be making sure I'm here.
Now, the tone of that conversation is much different than it has been over the last couple weeks, where the CEO of New Jersey Transit has really gone after the union, saying that they're not playing fair, that they had a contract in place, and that they walked away from the table. He didn't say any of that yesterday, so maybe that's a good sign they're close to signing something. Governor Murphy says he's still hoping for that last-minute deal to take place.
I think you'll leave all options on the table. I'm still hoping that we find some resolution here, but we are preparing for the worst. I'm hoping and praying that they can find the common ground that we need to find to avoid a strike.
It would be the first transit strike in 42 years, potentially impacting about 350,000 commuters.
Usually there's always some kind of resolution at the 11th hour, so hopefully that'll be happening on Friday. That's what I'm hoping for.
One of the riders who's hoping something will get done. Talks have been underway in D.C. between the Brotherhood of Local Engineers and Trainmen and the head of New Jersey Transit. They said Monday's negotiations were productive, but the sticking point continues to be this wage, that they're not close on how much money engineers should pay or get paid. So do riders have an alternative plan?
Gotta make one. I don't know. I gotta figure it out.
Now I'm gonna have to take an Uber to get here, take the PATH train,
wait for the 1 or 2 trains to get back to Uptown. So that's going to take more time.
Okay, so here's kind of what we know. They say Port Authority will be very crowded if this happens as they roll more buses in there. If the strike takes place, PATH trains will operate on the normal schedule. But PATH says they'll monitor the stations to see how crowded they come. If they become very crowded, I guess they'll roll more trains during peak hours. Either way, it's going to be a mess. If it is, and it does take place, make sure you tune into us. Starting 5 o'clock Friday morning, we'll have the best way to get to and from wherever you're going with, of course, Joel Nolan, starting at 5 a.m. The parents of American-Israeli hostage Idan Alexander, who was freed Monday after being held captive by Hamas in Gaza since October of 2023, say they had always maintained hope that he would be released.
We always believe that this moment will come, always. Hope is mandatory.
He needs time.
Yeah, he needs time.
If you're going to ask him, he's going to say, I need time.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
It's all right.
We're going to give him whatever he needs.
So his mother said what was nice to watch Idan, who looked pretty good yesterday. They released a picture of him drinking a beer. He got a smile on his face. She says she's just going to let Idan chill. And she handed him his old iPhone. His text messages were going off like crazy. And he was able to communicate with friends back here in Tenafly. It's not clear when the 21-year-old will be able to come back to the U.S. There are clearly some sort of health concerns that are waiting to figure out. But the family was out holding a press conference yesterday in Tel Aviv. I think it was Tel Aviv anyway, but it was in Israel, where they were thanking the Americans, including President Trump, for helping negotiate their son's release.
It is wonderful to have Idan home. Really a gift from God to watch him hug Yael, his brother, and his sister, knowing that his suffering is over and that our family can finally begin to heal.
Now, they did acknowledge the fact that 57 hostages remain in Gaza, including 20 who are believed to be alive. They say they're praying and hoping that their release will be negotiated. What was interesting is as they were thanking everybody yesterday, the only person they did not thank was Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. And that may have been on purpose because they thought he might be getting in the way of this negotiation between the U.S. and Hamas.
We never, ever forget the tireless effort on Idan's behalf.
Yeah, the president, meaning President Trump, he spoke with Idan yesterday. 5:43. Many local elections in New York State are going to be moving to even years to line up with national elections. It's a really controversial move that was just approved by the state appeals court. Republicans argue local issues will be muddled because there'll be so many things on the ballot. You'll have the local issues, the state, the federal issues. And so you had Long Island Republican leaders coming out in force yesterday, calling it self-serving political act by Democrats to move the elections to even years. It's the Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman, Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine holding a press conference yesterday.
They're trying to take the local issues and put them down the ballot. If we had local elections with state and federal elections.
Imagine going in and having 50 people names on a ballot or more or 60, and you've got to figure out who's who. Not the way government was meant to work.
Now, of course, a lot is going on here, right? So the Democrats want even years, partially because more Democrats come out in even years when there's more on the ballot. Whereas Republicans say in those odd years, fewer Democrats come out, and that helps them. Nobody's really acknowledging either of those things. I'm just explaining what's going on. But here's a New York State Assembly member, a Democrat, who says even years is a good thing.
We are consolidating elections. Elections are very expensive. Less Democrats go out in odd years. And so I guess it benefits them to have lower voter turnout. But this is just a common avenue of voter suppression by the Republican Party.
Now, when you talk to voters, they're sort of split on this.
It's better off on its own. They get more attention.
It'll probably get more people to vote.
If it's saving money, it's a good thing.
So for now, the even year elections are the law of the land in New York State, pending an appeal by Nassau and Suffolk counties, who are calling it a blatant political act and unconstitutional. Now, the sideline to this is New York City is exempt from that change. 5:46. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We'll start here on the diamond out in Queens. Brett Beatty hit hit a tie-breaking homer in the 7th inning, and the Mets held off the Pirates 2-1, effectively taking the series as well. Brendan Nimmo had an early RBI double off closer Mitch Keller for the NL East leading Mets, who have won 5 of 6 to move to a season-best 13 games over 500. They got the best record in the major leagues. Throwing error by shortstop Francisco Lindor helped the Pirates put runners at second and third with one out in the 9th, with closer Edwin Diaz threw a called third strike past slumping Brian Reynolds before cleanup batter Joey Bart grounded out in a drizzle to end it. The Mets are 17-4 at home and have won 11 of the last 12 against Pittsburgh at Citi Field. Coming up next for the Mets, Clay Holmes gets to start in tonight's series finale against Pittsburgh. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05 p.m. from Citi Field. Out west in Seattle, the Yankees dropped game 2 of 3 against the Mariners. The final score 2-1 in 11 innings after the Yanks tied it in the 9th on a fielder's choice by Anthony Volpe. J.P. Crawford then won it for Seattle on an RBI single in the 11th off of Tim Hill. Up next for the Yanks, Will Warren. We're at the start in Seattle this afternoon for the series finale against the Mariners. First pitch there scheduled for 4:10 p.m. Also out of Major League Baseball in a historic sweeping decision, Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred yesterday removed Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and other deceased players from Major League Baseball's permanently ineligible list. The all-time hit king and Jackson, both a longtime baseball pariahs stained by gambling, seen by MLB as the game's mortal sin, are now eligible for election into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Manfred ruled that MLB's punishment of banned individuals ends upon their death, so if they do get enshrined into baseball immortality at the Hall of Fame, that'll come by the summer of 2028.
Why would they have to wait till 2028?
Based on current rules for players who last played more than 15 years ago. The earliest they can be voted on is 2028.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, there's all these different rules. I think once you're done playing, you got to wait 5 years until after you've retired to then be voted on. Other sports are almost right away, but baseball has all of these different guidelines. It's part of the reason why, Hall of Fame voting for baseball these days is, there's a lot of criticism fired on it.
Too complicated, sounds like.
Way too complicated, and put the best players in the Hall of Fame, regardless of, what they did to stain the game.
Yeah, while they're still alive would be nice, too.
Yeah, that'd be nice, right? Yeah. I'd like to see Barry Bonds get a plaque there while he's still alive. That'd be nice. Yeah. Mark McGwire, what are we doing here? Guy's got a whole deck named after him in St. Louis.
But that's all steroid stuff now.
So?
Yeah. Well, they got to decide that that's okay, too.
It is okay.
Yeah.
I said it.
Okay.
Let him juice.
I'll let Rob know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let him know.
These people are sick.
Dial him up, will you? In Cleveland, on the hardwood here, Nomer, the Pacers eliminated the top-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers, beating them 114-105 in Game 5 last night to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. They will await the winner of our New York Knicks and Boston Celtics. That Eastern Conference Finals series, of course, our Knicks up 3-1. Game 5 scheduled for 7 p.m. Tonight from Boston. The Celtics are 4.5-point favorites. They will be without their superstar forward, Jason Tatum, who underwent surgery to repair a ruptured right Achilles tendon yesterday afternoon after he suffered that injury late in the fourth quarter of Monday's Game 4 loss to the Knicks. The team said the surgery was a success and that no timetable was available for his return. That is your Sports Know, man. I'm Justin Ullich on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:51. Let's go out to Brooklyn. A 25-year-old there dead after he was shot by cops responding to an apparent domestic abuse call. This was in Brownsville yesterday. A woman called 911 reporting that her ex was threatening her, and she believed that he was on her way to kill her.
She stated that he believed he was on his way to kill her. 2 uniformed officers were immediately dispatched to the location.
Now, apparently the woman told police that he was angry because another man had been watching her children. She told officers that the suspect was known to carry weapons, including machetes and hammers, and sure enough, he was. Within seconds of police officers walking into this apartment, the man took out a knife from his waistband and moved towards officers.
Within seconds of entering the apartment, the man brandished a knife from his waistband and moved towards the officers. One officer deployed his taser, but it was ineffective. The man continued to advance towards the officers and got within a few feet. A second officer then discharged his firearm, firing 2 rounds and striking the man in the chest.
The man believed to be the father, at least one of the children, was taken to Brookdale Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Neighbors say the whole scene was just downright frightening and kind of sad.
It's sad. It's senseless violence, and that's what we be out here for, to try to de-escalate that type of violence and try to become a liaison between the community and the officers.
WABC News Time 5:53. New York City being ordered to turn over control of Rikers Island to an outside manager.
Federal Judge Laura Swain's ruling says that the manager will support remediation of the ongoing violations of the constitutional rights of people in custody. Judge Swain finding the city in contempt last November for failing to stop violence and brutality at the troubled jail. The Legal Aid Society calling Swain's ruling historic. Mayor Adams says the city will follow the rules to improve conditions at Rikers. The parties in the case must offer recommendations for who should take over by August 29th. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
At 5:53, let's head out to Nassau County, Long Island. Police identifying the 3 victims of Sunday's fatal car crash in Bethpage. They were killed when they were driving and struck a tree, and the car caught fire. The victims in the crash, all 20 years old. Gino Vical, he's from Seaford. Nicholas Rivera from Glendale, and Vincent Cavalieri, he's from Bethpage. Neighbors know all 3 of them.
I've been here almost 30 years, and I don't have a bad word to say about them. What a nice family. I mean, they're very caring parents.
Yeah, Vincent Cavalieri was a football player at Assumption University up in Massachusetts. Neighbor lives down the block from where the crash took place, says she's the mother of 2 children in their 20s, and she worries about this kind of thing, fatal car crashes.
I wouldn't even know what to say to a mom that she has to deal with this ordeal. And it's 3 children, 3 20-year-olds. Their lives are just beginning.
Nassau County Police haven't said exactly what caused the crash. A fundraiser's been set up to pay for their funerals. While we're out on Long Island, the search is entering its 3rd day for a man who disappeared while swimming in the Nissaquag River. That's right near the Kings Park Bluff. Authorities say the man was last seen, this was about 8 p.m., struggling in the water. He then vanished. They put helicopters in the air yesterday. Coast Guard divers were there.
I'm a commercial fisherman for 35 years. I've seen a lot of tragic things happen down here. People need to be aware that the currents are very, very strong here.
Yeah, officers with the Marine Bureau also used side-scan sonar in hopes of locating the missing swimmer. They didn't tell us who he is yet, but so far they have been unable to find him. Let's go from Long Island over to Westchester County up to New Rochelle. Officials from the City School District of New Rochelle warning students, high school students, about engaging in this game called Senior Assassin. I can't believe this game is still around. We did this when I was kids. This is a game where you are assigned to kill somebody with a water gun, and if you shoot them, then they're out of the game, and whoever can survive wins the whole thing. And it's dopey, but you're a senior. It's a game where graduating seniors play with these toy water guns, aiming to eliminate other students by squirting them with water. So what happened yesterday is these 3 students were engaged in this game, and somebody thought the gun was real, and they called the cops. Well, cops race over to the scene, as they should, and they pat these guys down. They grab their knapsacks, go through them.
They had their backpacks on the ground, and eventually they went through their backpacks, and shortly after that, they uncuffed them and let them go.
Yeah, so school officials say thankfully nobody was hurt. They say the game is not sanctioned on campus, but it's just, I don't know, to me it just seems like it's kids having fun, but I guess you can't have fun doing a whole lot these days anymore.
I'm more concerned about, not so much worried about somebody getting hit with water, shot with water, but it's more of what could happen to these kids because it will get mistaken for a real weapon.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe they should make the rules that it has to be like a very colorful water gun. That's obviously a water gun.
I would be terrified. We know that you never know who's carrying a weapon.
I guess.
It's crazy. That's a crazy game.
Yeah, it just feels like another thing they're dousing for the kids.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment cause chaos. Use ShipStation instead. From running a business out of your garage to multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating tasks. Plus, you'll get the best shipping rates from global carriers. Calm the chaos with the shipping software that delivers. Start a free trial at ShipStation.com/audio. That's ShipStation.com/audio.